Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hall of Paula, and welcome to my first budget PC build. Now, this isn't a normal video like I usually do Let's Plays and stuff, but I think I'm going to start doing this because my other passion besides video games is computers and technology, and I love building computers, I love knowing more about computers, and it's just been my life for the longest time, as long as I can remember, really. But anyways, I'm going to jump right into it. This is a $500 budget build, maybe even a little less than $500. Note, this is an AMD based build, so all you Intel fanboys might just want to leave the video now. I am going to be leaving a link to a Intel based build for the same price, so it's going to be the same build generally, except the motherboard and the CPU. So if you guys are Intel, go check out that video, but if you're AMD, tag along for the rest of this video. So let's jump right into this. Kicking this build off with the CPU, I went with the AMD FX 6300. This is an AM3 Plus socket CPU. It's got 6 cores with a core clock up to 3.5 gigahertz. And can be overclocked to 4.1 gigahertz if I'm not mistaken. This processor is really good if you're video editing or playing video games, recording, because that 6-core multi-core usage is really going to push through very nicely, and you're really going to see a big difference if you're coming from like a dual core or a quad core, I promise you. Now moving on to the MOBO of the build. I went with a ASRock 980DE-US. God, I always hate these semi-cheap motherboards because they have the longest name. It's so annoying. It's a 980DE3-U3S3. It's ridiculous, I know. It's an ATX motherboard. Honestly, there isn't really much to say about it. It gets up to 32 gigs of RAM, 4 DIMM slots, 3 PCIe ports, and 2 PCI ports, and only 1 PCI 3.0 port, so you're only going to be able to do one graphics card. If you were hoping to do SLI, you're going to have to pocket a little bit more into this build. Anyways, moving on to the RAM. I went with Crucial Ballistic Sport 8GB RAM. I just went with the cheapest 8GB of RAM I could find because I knew at least for gaming you would need 8GB of RAM, and it gets up to 1600 megahertz. So there's enough said about that. It's RAM. It'll do good. If you want to pocket more money into it, by all means. Moving on to the hard drive. The hard drive is actually a hard drive that I use right now. It is a Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB, 7200 RPM. It's probably the most common hard drive you're going to hear about nowadays because of how cheap it is for really good quality. Western Digital makes some really good hard drives. They're really fast and reliable. I've heard Seagate is as well, but I've never actually used a Seagate. If you want to leave a comment, if you have a Seagate about their hard drives, be sure to do that and let all the other peeps know about it. Moving on to the beauty of the build. Oh, she's a beauty. Now this really puts the mark of a PC Master Race glorious mark on that system. I just had like a muscle spasm in my mouth, I'm sorry. But anyways, the graphics card I went with was a Gigabyte Windforce Radeon R9 270X. Holy sweet Jesus, this is a 2GB card, and for this build and to fit it in this budget, I thought it was pretty amazing. But trust me, you'll see some performance out of this, especially with the low temperatures, because it has 3 fans. Like, it's in the name, Windforce. I mean, you're like a freaking Jedi with the wind. That was so lame. Anyways, moving on to the case. The case really isn't nothing flashy, I know. It's what you see mostly, but it's not necessarily the most important thing about the build, so it's not very expensive if you want something more flashy and cool and maybe, I don't know, quote unquote reliable, you're gonna have to pocket a little bit more money into the build. So if you're willing to do that, by all means. But if you're going to go with the one I got a Raid Max ATX 402WB ATX mid tower case. So like I said, it's nothing flashy. Raid Max makes some pretty decent cases. I have tested some of their cases and they're okay. They're not the best for like cable managing, stuff like that, but it'll do the job really. That's basically it. That's what it comes down to. Moving on to the power supply. The power supply I went with was a Corsair 430. Corsair Builder 430W. 430 watt. Oh my god, I can't freaking talk. It's a 80 plus bronze certified. Corsair makes fantastic products. They really do. Not sponsored. Not sponsored. Not sponsored. I'm not sponsored. I'm really not. But it's only 430 watts. Now, I would highly recommend, for a few extra bucks, buying like a 550 watt or maybe even a 600 watt. 600 watt would be amazing because the more wiggle room for power, the better. Really, you're gonna see increase in boot speed, maybe even game performance. I'm not too for sure about that, but probably more game performance. It would make sense, wouldn't it? But if you know more about that, be sure to leave that in the comments as well. So the total for this build is going to add up to, if you went exactly with every part in this, it should total up to $463.33. Now, I don't know about you, but for all this, I think that's pretty amazing. Also, there will be a link in the description that you can click on to go to this build. I use PCPartPicker.com. I thought it'd be the easiest way to make a build and you guys be able to easily order the parts if you were to buy them, or go to your local tech store and just buy them, because that's a lot easier. That's what I usually do. But that total is not including the operating system, of course. I mean, you can go with Windows, Mac, Linux, or even go with the Steam OS. Yeah. I have not personally tested the Steam operating system. I've heard that there isn't very many games out for it, but if you're willing to make a gamble and try that, or you could do some reading, do some research about it, make your own Steam machine if you already have a gaming PC, stuff like that. Just experiment, have fun. That's what building a computer, oh my god, that's what building a computer is all about. I screeched for a second because I dropped my water bullet on my keyboard, so luckily the lid was on there, so I almost died. I almost had a heart attack when I saw that fall over. I was like, no! But anyways, guys, if you like this video, be sure to like this video. It takes at least 1.3 seconds, maybe more. You might want to do more research about that. Also, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and you can see more videos like this. But until next time, guys, I will see you later.